Kiyani. I'm a broadcast journalist and TV producer. And with over 25 years working mostly in TV and some work across radio and film, I wanted to put that to good use and be of service to everyone, in particular young people who want a career in media. So I'm doing a series of interviews with industry professionals across different age groups, different backgrounds, newcomers to the industry, established professionals across a broad range of roles, to give you an insight into the different positions available and also to give you an insight into the different pathways available into this business. I can guarantee you there's not one set route into this industry, and my guests will attest to that. They've got some really interesting stories to share. I invite you to join me and my guests every week and get some inspiration for yourself, you know, from those who have done it already and have fantastic careers. Now, it's time to introduce my guest. She is a costume designer. She's a makeup artist. She's a film script writer and also a film producer. Welcome, Noella Mingo.
Hi, Samina. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
It's really good to have you, Noella. Now, you know, one of the first things when I talk to young people, they ask me is like, how did you get into the industry? And I know that is a question that's burning on everybody's lips. So the first thing and obvious thing for me to ask is how, but also why did you get into this industry?
You know, you were right when you say there's so many ways into the business. I fell into the business by accident. It's really bizarre. I got a job at the Body Shop as a trainer in the makeup department. Fine. I just thought I was going to be working in retail. I thought I'd be talking to people about a blusher or a lipstick. Yeah. And I had no idea I'd have to put makeup on people as a part of my job. And in my first week, I was given a training session by this incredible makeup artist called Barbara Daly. And I thought I was doing okay, but I heard her say to somebody on the side, oh, I'm not sure about Noella. I don't know if she's going to be any good. And I was like, right, that is it. No one's going to say that about me. So I went home and I put makeup on anybody and anything that would allow me to.
Grabbing people off the street.
It was just like, there's no way someone's going to say I can't do this. It's makeup. It's not rocket science. So when I had my next training session, she was like, oh, Noella's really good. And then she took me under her wing. When she was doing TV shows and films, she would take me along to be her assistant, and I'd fold her tissues and clean her brushes. And gradually she taught me more and more and more. And that's how I became a makeup artist with no intention at all. And I've done it ever since.
And of course, you know, that somebody telling you can't do something, that's generally a bit of a motivator, isn't it?
Definitely. There was no way I was going to accept that. I just thought, of course I can do it. Of course I can do it. I didn't really know if I could, but I was determined that I would be able to. And I practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced until I could do it. And once I was at a level that she thought, actually, she's okay, then, and I think the difference for me was she saw that I was prepared to go that extra mile and make that effort. So she went the extra mile with me and made more of an effort with me and decided to actually teach me her profession, which has kept me in paid my bills for the past, 30 years. So I certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, there's two key messages coming there. One, go for it, absolutely go for it, and practice makes perfect. Yeah. So now I want to talk about your different roles. You juggle your work across your different roles. You're clearly a very multi-talented lady. However, is there the fear or, the possibility that within the industry that could be perceived as, jack of many trades and not necessarily master of many trades?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting thought because the things that I do are all quite different except for costume and makeup. And I came into those two things. Makeup led me to costume. So I'd been a makeup artist for a number of years. I'd worked on music videos and UK films and TV commercials. And there was a director that I worked with quite a lot. And somehow over lunch one day, we were having a conversation. And I said that I sewed, that I like to make clothes. And from a young age, I used to make my own clothes because I like to look different to everybody else. And he went, oh, Noella, I've got this commercial coming up. Do you think you could just make me these random things you want me to make? And I'm like, yeah, of course I can. And that started my path into costume. So rather than say, oh no, I don't do that, I was like, sure, why not? And more people learned that I could make, I could sew. And so I started to do costume more and more as well. And I have to say, I usually do one or the other. I occasionally somebody will ask me to do both things on a shoot, but really it's two different disciplines. So some people know me as a makeup artist, some people know me as a costume designer, and then there's a separate bunch of people that know me as a writer and a producer. So although I do a lot of things, I think it's within different groups of people. And to me, that's a really important lesson, because we often feel like this is our career, we do this, we don't do anything else. Whereas I just feel if something comes my way, I'll give it a go, I'll work at it, I'll try and get it right. And if it doesn't work, I won't do it again. But if I can make something work and make my career more varied and interesting and keep me in work as a freelancer, then I'll certainly go for it.
Yeah, and we'll be talking about working freelance and a few other things later on. The one thing that's been common amongst all the people I've interviewed, and of course, you know, having spoken to friends in the industry as well, and colleagues, is that nobody's career has been 100% smooth. So what I'd like to talk to you about now is what are some of the challenges you've come across in your career? And more importantly, how did you overcome them?
There are always challenges. You know, there's that challenge of getting a break in the first place, which is never easy. But then once you get that break, it's keeping the whole thing going. And I remember once I was fired off of a 4-day commercial halfway through, and I've never quite understood why I was fired, but it had never happened to me before. I was absolutely devastated to get fired halfway through a shoot. You know, I must have done something really, really terrible. And for a few days afterwards, I was absolutely devastated and thought, I can't do this. I'm obviously no good. I'm obviously...
Well, it impacts your self-esteem, doesn't it? Something like that.
Really, really does. But then I thought, come on, that's one bad experience out of hundreds of good experiences. So you've just got to push it aside and forget about it and move on, forget it ever happened. And for a long time, I would never tell anybody. And then I was talking to some of my colleagues that I work with a lot. And one of them was saying, you know, this horrible feeling of not getting booked for things, or getting booked to work with somebody once and never getting booked again. And I was like, come on, I've been fired. You know, that's the worst thing. But you just got to move on. You'll never know why. Just get on and do your job to the best that you can.
And also, one thing I'd like to add to your story is I've been fired before as well, but it suddenly opened up a whole new world of possibilities for me. At the time, I was devastated, thinking, oh my God, you know, what am I going to do? But suddenly a whole new world opened up to me, which was amazing, you know. Okay, so now let's talk about your writing. You recently wrote your first screenplay. It's called Elephant. And then you produced a short film to go with the script, and it's done really well across the short film festival circuit. Congratulations on that. What was the inspiration behind writing the story, and also what was the process like of writing when you'd never written a script before?
So the idea of writing the story was, or writing a script, I'd written before, because I'd been a makeup artist. I'd been asked to write beauty articles for various magazines and things like that. So I had written, but not a script. That was a whole new world to me. But the reason for writing it initially was because I wasn't seeing on screen the stories that I wanted to see. And somebody said to me, well, if you're not seeing what you want to see, do it yourself. And I was like, right, okay, I will do it. My husband's a cinematographer. He was very keen to shoot something. So I set about writing a story that I felt reflected really my dual heritage. So my mum is white British, my dad is black from the Caribbean. And the way that mental illness, which is the basis of the film Elephant, is portrayed within the two sides of my family is really, really different. In the English side of my family, people will talk quite openly about their feelings and if they feel down, whereas on the black side of my family, it was rarely mentioned. It was almost like a bit of a taboo. So I thought, let's make a film about mental illness with a lovely black family that seemed to have everything going for them, but actually there's this issue at the basis of it. So I was like, right, that sounds like a great thing to write a script about. Now I've got to write the script. And I just got it on paper. So I thought, right, I know what I want this to be. I'm just going to write it down, just write the overview, which I did. And I showed it to a few people and they were like, yeah, but this is just an overview. It's not a script. And I was like, oh yeah, I better find out what a script is, what a script actually looks like. So I did something that I'd recommend anybody who wants to write to do. I Googled good screenplays and loads of them come up. I think the first one I read was for Psycho. And then there's like Quentin Tarantino screenplays that you can read. And it just sort of opens up the world to you of a screenplay, where you're not just saying Nicole felt depressed. It's where she was, what she was seeing, how she was feeling, how you can portray that on screen. And it was so exciting to get it down. So I ended up doing about 5 drafts of the script, and I got various people to look at it and just kept working on it. And then it's just like, wow, this is amazing. Probably never get made, but it's amazing, the process of writing. And
but then it did get made, and of course it's around all the short film festival circuits. Now, storytelling is a key component in our industry. Like, it's fundamental. Do you want to just share a couple of thoughts on that?
I mean, everything's about storytelling. And I think if you want to tell a story, know the story you want to tell. It's the thing that everybody says, if they're writing a script or if they're writing a novel, they say, know the story that you want to tell. And I think that that's really important. And we're surrounded by stories. Sometimes I'll go and sit, pre-COVID, I would go and sit in a cafe, sit there with my notebook and listen to conversations, because you just get these snippets of things, of people's lives, or just this odd line that can open this whole world of a story to you, either whether you're doing that as a writer, as a filmmaker, or even if you're doing it as a makeup artist or a costume designer, because you see things. Example, I'm starting to work on what could be my first feature film for my new career, which might be as a director.
How exciting.
And there's this character in the script that's somebody who was a punk in 1977, and she's now a woman in her early 60s, but she's quite cool and she's quite funky. And from a costume design point of view, I saw this incredible woman in the street the other day. She was much older. She was probably about 75. She had these pink DMs on and this tartan coat. And I was just like, even if I can't go in the film, I'm going to dress somebody like that for a shoot, or I'm going to write a story about that.
So what you're saying is there's inspiration to be had all around.
Everywhere.
And in your own life, and in your own life. Yeah. So let me just talk about, you mentioned costume and makeup. For anybody listening out there who's like, oh, I'd love to do that, what are the fundamentals they need to know to get involved in this work?
First of all, I'd say know which area of the business you want to be involved in, because you say, all right, I want to do costume. Do you want to be a fashion stylist? Do you want to work in TV? Do you want to work in film? Do you want to be on a period drama? Or if you want to do makeup, is it prosthetics? There's so many areas to it. And I think about that first of all. Is it that you love the makeup and the clothes you see in magazines, or that you love the things you see on TV? And once you've done that, start looking at the names. So whose name comes up as the costume designer or the assistant designer, or who comes up as the key makeup artist or the head of department? Find those people, knock on doors. These days it might be online, but find people, talk to them, ask them how they got started, see if they'd be prepared to have you come and join them as a trainee. Lots of people.
Or just even to observe, just so you can get a feel of what a film set, drama set or a TV set looks like.
Because it's nothing like you expect it to be.
No.
It'll take 4 days to shoot something that's going to be 30 seconds. And that blew my mind the first time I worked on a film set. I can't believe I'm standing here for all this time. We actually haven't done anything yet.
Yeah.
So I think that is really, really important. And a lot of people get in touch with me and say, can they assist me? And I'll try and get as many people on things as I can, always. But the thing that I would say that's really important is, yes, you need your skills. So you need to be able to figure out what goes with what if you're doing costume, or how to make somebody up. But almost the most crucial thing for me is how you are on set, how you are with actors and models and the rest of the crew, because that is as important actually as what you physically do for your craft.
So are you here referring to professionalism, keeping, a really professional attitude towards everything and getting on with everyone, essentially?
Yeah, professionalism is key. And I think when you're young, or if you're from a minority group, it unfortunately becomes even more important, because the expectation is that maybe you'll be a bit sloppy or you'll be on your phone, whereas you need to be focused on what you're doing every minute of the day. And for me, I always try to do a bit more than is expected of me than a bit less.
Yeah.
So I'll always try to come in under budget. I'll always have ideas. I'll be trying to be really focused all of the time, regardless of what's going on around me or outside, and making an effort to get on with everybody, because those are the things that people who will hire you will remember.
Yeah. And so finally, I want to talk about the way this industry works. The majority of people are freelance, as you well know, and that can be really exciting. But it also means going from job to job to job. Contracts can last from a day to several months. And as exciting as that is, and all the amazing people you meet, working freelance can also be precarious too. So can you just share something for those listening today, that side of working as a freelancer?
Working as a freelancer can be really hard, especially when you're starting out, because there's probably 100 people trying to get that one job that you want to get, and everybody's fighting for the same thing. But I would say you have to make yourself memorable to the people who are hiring you. So that, when I say about going that step beyond, doing a little bit more than is expected of you, those are the things that people will remember. Being friendly, being polite, getting on with everybody, people remember those things. And also keep working at getting jobs. Call people, email people, see what's available, because there's always work available. It's just a case of finding it. And if it doesn't come to you, you need to go to it. But certainly when you start, be prepared for sometimes, and even me, I've been doing this for years. Sometimes I will go 3-4 weeks without a call for a job. Now I'm at a stage in my life and my career where I can just about manage that. But when you're starting out, it's not easy. But know that the work will come if you do a good enough job, and just keep on plugging away, contacting people, making calls, reminding people you exist, posting things on social media about your work rather than kind of what you had for lunch. Remind people that you're out there.
Yeah, exactly. And what about doing some side hustles, because starting out, as you said, can be really precarious. You don't know where the next job's coming from. And, people don't know you sufficiently. They don't know what you can do. So there's clearly no shame in going to get a part-time job, even if it's in a different industry. I mean, when I started out, I worked in a cafe for 6 months just so I could keep a focus, keep the roof over my head first, So just share something about that. It is important to, keep yourself financially afloat.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree with what you're saying. I did all sorts of things when I first started out. I worked in a cafe. I even considered at one point being a postman. I thought that sounds like a really cool thing to do. I realised I wouldn't be able to get the time off to do the shoots.
I'd pay good money to see that.
Yeah, I know, me with my post bag. So yeah, definitely be prepared to side hustle, and definitely be prepared to do things like, you might want to be a makeup artist, but maybe do a bit of running. Or you might want to be a cameraman, but maybe do a little bit of ADing or running as well, because you're still in the business, you're seeing how things work, you're making the contacts, and that's really what it's all about.
Oh, brilliant. Noella, great advice there. It's been so good to talk to you today. Thanks for making time for me.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Now, if there's a role that you're really, really interested in and I haven't covered, then please get in touch and leave me a message, and I will do my very best to secure an interview with somebody in that position just for you. And also, if there's any questions you'd like to ask to a particular in relation to a particular role, then again, you can contact me across my social media platforms. And talking of which, if you're interested in watching all my interviews, then yeah, I post details across all my social media platforms. So please feel free to follow me there, and also on YouTube. And yeah, I look forward to having your company again. Thanks again to Noella Mingo. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to her. And of course, a huge thanks to you for watching. I look forward to your company next time.